Your ears do not deceive you. You have just entered the Cryptid Creator Corner brought to you by your friends at Comic Book Yeti. So without further ado, let's get on to the interview.
All right. Welcome back, everybody, to the Comic Book Yeti YouTube channel. I'm Lauren, your interviewer today. And today I'm joined by two really amazing comic creatives here. We've got writer Zack Kaplan and artist John J. Pearson, and they are the creators behind Mindset. How are y'all today?
We're good. How are you?
Very good. Very
good. Good. I'm just glad we were able to coordinate and get us all in one place. We're all in different areas of the world. So
yeah. I'm in Los Angeles and John's.
I'm in Leeds in the UK, and it's we're spread all over. So it's nice to be able to do it.
Yeah. Is this y'all's first book together? Your first comic?
Yeah. This is our first. Yeah.
Is it the first with is it your first being published by Vault as well?
It is. Yeah. I had been talking with Vault for a very long time about doing something. I actually exhibited my first convention exhibiting was San Diego in 2016, and that was Vault's first. And I actually found them at the small press section, and they had a bunch of first issues, and I met Adrian and Damien and Nathan and the whole clan there, and we've been talking ever since about doing something, but looking for the right project and timing, and then finally this was the one that so yeah, it's my first and John's first too.
Awesome. Yeah. And for those of you that are going to be listening to this and watching it, if you don't know, Mindset, the brief synopsis of it that they give is it follows an introverted tech geek as he accidentally discovers mind control. So he and his friends put science into an app to help users break their technology addiction, but their Mindset app achieves a dangerous cult following, and lies, conspiracies, even murder comes to light. And the big question is, are they helping people or controlling them? So to you guys, just off that, actually pretty broad synopsis, what genres would you guys put the story under? Sci-fi, horror, mystery, all of the above, none of them?
Yeah, all it's a real I like to mash up genres. Actually, I like to have a ton of different subgenres all kind of coming together. So it's got this sci-fi component in the sense that it is about mind control and being able to control people with they discover this light and sound combination that they're able to basically zap people with and control them. And it's a thriller mystery. It's got some suspense. It's kind of a business startup drama. It's and it's got a little horror, psychological horror to it. There's this kind of horrific aspect of what technology can do, and the dark side of all of us. And so there's lots of those layers. There's a love story somewhat of at the center of this in its own twisted way. So there's a lot of subgenres, everything all kind of mashed together. When I talk about it, it's like a dark, twisted sci-fi, noir, thriller, mystery. Yeah, it's everything. Character drama, there's I'd say a good chunk of just really solid character drama to it. So
I think that's one of the kind of best things as well, is it's not easily defined, I suppose.
I just defined it easily, John. It was easy.
It's everything. It's everything you could ever want.
Yes, I did it, didn't you hear?
But yeah, I think as well, like the because everybody kind of assumes it's a sci-fi thriller.
Yeah.
And I suppose like you could generalize and say it is, but I suppose one of the things that if you go into it thinking it is that, you'll get probably a shock, mainly from the artwork when you first look at it, because it's not really what you maybe expect from a sci-fi thriller.
Yeah.
So I think that's straight away when you go into it thinking one thing and you see something slightly different, then it's instantly getting you to question, well, what is this? And hopefully that's a level of intrigue right from the get-go.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because even just in the synopsis, and then once you start reading, they the characters and the main character Peter, who we'll talk about in a bit, they are trying to break a technological addiction with technology. It almost contradicts itself. Is this a theme that you guys really wanted to explore within all the other themes in the story?
Yeah, I mean, someone also recently asked us about like a meditation app, which is so funny in and of itself because they decided to put it in a meditation app, and I also find meditation apps so absurdly humorous. I have a couple on my phone too, but the idea is that like, are you lying in bed doom scrolling and you're just exhausted at looking at your phone? Well, I'll tell you what, look at this pattern instead of swirling lights or, you know, a video of a pond and calm music. And look at this for 60 seconds and it will calm you, and listen to this mantra as opposed to put your phone down. So yeah, there is this kind of interesting duplicitous premise that we are going to solve our technological addiction with technology. And I think that's kind of baked into this odyssey that these characters go through. Ben Sharp, our protagonist, is idealistic and good intentioned in the onset. He wants to try to help, but he also has some darker inner drives of, you know, wanting to be influential and growing up in social media and feeling like a nobody, and all of this kind of makes this perfect storm to lead him down, him and his whole group down this darker journey. And yeah, I think there's a lot of complicated aspects about our relationship with technology. So yeah, using our relationship with phones and devices and meditation app and all of this as kind of an allegory for how these devices control us. That's really kind of what we're hoping to get across here.
Yeah, I think as well, it's not necessarily contradictions that we're dealing with. It's more dualities. So these kind of ideas that it's not just black and white. There's one way of looking at it, but from a different perspective, it's something completely different. So the whole idea of using technology to free yourself from technology, to a lot of people, that makes perfect sense, even though as soon as you say it, it's ludicrous. And those layers of perspective are kind of what we're going throughout. So from the kind of the character-driven script through to the artwork, it's layers and layers and layers. So what you might read, first of all, might not be the actual intentions, or it might be different from a different perspective if you read it again. So yeah, it's all about those dualities.
And it works on a thriller level and a character level. And you know, we spend a lot of time and care to do that, both narratively and then aesthetically. And so we're hoping that people will pick up Mindset and read it and really get sucked into saying, well, this is what true, but this could also be true. And they're both true, but which do I really believe? And so there's a real subjective experience. It's not, there are other thrillers where it's, you think it's one thing, but at the very end, you find out it's something else. And I think that we're really hoping to share that more subjective, perceptive kind of experience that we all kind of have right now with technology, so that you read it and you're making your own determinations as you go. And you know, that's a lot in the story and then a lot in the artwork, which I think is really pretty awesome.
Yeah, one of my favorite tropes used in any kind of literature is an unreliable narrator, which it almost seems like Ben, the main character, is almost an unreliable narrator, right? You can't trust everything he's telling you to be true or accurate. And it's not just because they're, you know, of who he is. It's also just because, like you said, all these different things at play. Can you talk about how you kind of came up with Ben's personality and his background and such?
Yeah. He is an unreliable narrator more than ever, just because he's sharing his very subjective experience and we're only getting to see pieces of it. And we're seeing things through his interpretation of them. But it's interesting because I think I tried to approach Ben as an encapsulation of where we all kind of are with our experience with technology. We've all grown up with technology. And I think, you know, we we are all different ages, but our relationship with technology, whether you're a teenager, 20 or 40s, it's changing as we get older. And so it started just being kind of a tool. And then with the invention of smartphones and social media platforms and this level of interconnectedness and engagement and notifications on our phone, our experience is changing. And so my hope with Ben was to create a character that had a childhood or an adolescence that was rooted in a more innocent time with technology, where he could look up to technology and like technology and want to be a part of that experience, while at the same time, it was starting to shape him. We had social media. Facebook came onto the scene 15 plus years ago. So, if you're in your late 20s now, then, or mid 20s, then you were growing up with that experience of starting to share and compare each other's lives and see what people are doing on social media. So he's really been shaped by the experience of growing up with a changing form of technology. And now he's having the same epiphany that we're all having, which is technology is not our friend and it's not treating us well, but he's still in love with technology, and he wants to be influential and engage in this community, in this world. So he's trying to use technology to do it. So it is a very interesting character study, and we tried to make him an everyman and kind of relatable in the sense that he's having experiences that I hope we can all connect to.
Yeah, absolutely. And John, I noticed, especially when I was reading the copy of the first issue, when you draw the faces of characters and illustrate like Ben and such, there's certain characters like that you put so much emphasis on, while other characters you don't always. But the emphasis when you do put on certain people, it seems like there's a clear intent behind it, and it's so well done. And the style that you have illustrated this book in is fantastic. It's almost a photorealistic style, I'd argue. So what went into one, using that style for this story on your end, and then especially with the facial expressions on these characters?
I mean from the get-go, I wanted this book especially to be quite fluid with the style, because it is it's largely a character study. So it's about Ben, who is essentially in a lot of ways a relatable normal person, and then in other ways the exact opposite of that. But at the end of the day, he's from a design point of view, he's a normal guy. There's not like anything really well defined like standing out on him. Maybe the top that he's wearing, I don't know, but he's just a normal person. So that's quite hard to like come up with an interesting character design, where it's just kind of your everyday person. So one of the reasons why there's so much emphasis on some of the kind of expressions is to put the emotion at the forefront of it, and that's why it changes so much, and there's so much kind of fluidity and subjectivity to it, is based on what's happening. The artwork will either reinforce the emotions in the script, or it'll add in a different layer of subtext, or it will do something completely different to what you're reading. So the style of it is intentionally ranging from photorealistic to just silhouettes, the absence of anything. But it's all very much intentional and there to help push the story in kind of interesting ways. But yeah, we spoke about it before, actually, about the coming up with Ben. Like, we did quite a few different iterations of what Ben would look like, and like all of them are just like kind of a boring normal guy. But I think like the character is the exact opposite of that. But when you have a character that is unremarkable, I suppose, from a visual point of view, then it's easier for a reader or a viewer to kind of engage with that, because there's no barriers to it. It's not like a kind of rugged guy with like scars down his face or like anything like that. It's just kind of the average person you'd see.
I mean, one of Ben's core characteristics, I think, is that he's forgettable and he's a nobody.
Yeah.
He says it. He talks about himself in that way. So visually, he has to. John really brings I mean, really, what a challenge to say, okay, we need a character that is forgettable, but also relatable.
Yeah.
That's hard. So I think it's a fantastic. John has nailed it, and I think that people will really relate to Ben, and yet
and be like, oh yeah, his name was Ben, right?
He's Ben. Oh,
Ben.
what's that? Tell me about that character. Well, like he's like a guy, and like.
But that's it. It's the intention is not so you remember like visually necessarily what that type of person is, but I think when you read it, you will know that character and you will know what they're like, and you know their drives and they'll know their intentions, and that's far more important to try and convey that than it being like, oh yeah, they look cool. It's like, we don't care about that.
There's a famous, I think it's slightly paraphrased, but a fairly famous Maya Angelou quote, which is like, we don't always remember what people say, but remember how they make us feel. And it kind of sounds like that's what Ben is. Like, people are like, I don't know who that guy was, but like, I felt it because like his life sucked and my life sucked, like.
Yeah. Well,
this
is something that we've kind of always had the intention of. We want you to kind of experience mindset and to take something away from it rather than it just being a passive read. We want it to be quite an engaging read, one that you can kind of reflect upon and you can draw parallels or you can kind of question things with. So that's good. I'm glad you said that. That feels like
and you both do a great job with that, both with Zach, the way you have written the story and it flows on the page, and then the way, John, you bring the visuals to flow with the words so well. I like that you mentioned fluidity a lot, because one of the questions I had was that with your art, John, you in particular, you use certain lines and shadings and shadows to show movement and time lapse throughout the issue, such as like when Ben is on a train or subway, something like that. But that it's a very fluid image of just time passing by while he's saying they're waiting to go. So I was actually going to ask if that was something you wanted to emphasize, and it sounds like you did. You wanted it to read and feel fluid. It sounds like we're actually with Ben in the moment.
Yeah, absolutely, and that'll come through in a lot of different approaches through the books. So the bit on the train, definitely. I think that's one of the more surreal elements in it, actually.
Yeah.
But then there'll be kind of pages where the art will bleed through the panels, or it would just be borderless and like images will kind of mesh into each other, or the parts will like literally break through the panel borders. So I remember that one page. I remember seeing that and I was like, they just broke through the actual panel. That's really cool. But again, it's one of those things where the approach will vary in the subtlety. So I mean, that one really early in the book where it's breaking through the panel borders, that's just, again, like really over the top. But as you get further on, the same devices are used, but in much more subtle ways. And it's almost like you start off foreshadowing this fluidity, and things are breaking the panel borders and things are not quite what you would expect, with this image of somebody flying through it. And then that's in your mind. So when you get later on, it can be repeated in a more subtle way and you've still got that connection. So the emphasis changes, but it's all intentionally fluid, I suppose.
There's also a lot of fun that we had between the narration and the visual aesthetic. I mean, there are moments where the visuals are making you feel very nervous, and Ben is saying that everything's great, everything's fine.
You're like, it's not fine.
Or in turn, the visuals would be very calm and he's feeling really tumultuous or angsty. And so we had a lot of fun thinking about when the narration and the dialogue and the narrative portion of the story, when that is cohesive with the art and when there's friction there. And we were trying to make conscious choices so that there are moments where the reader will say something doesn't feel right and dive deeper and choose what they want to believe. They can believe, well, I just saw the frame break, so maybe this is something else is going on. So yeah, it's
Yeah, and I like that. And I feel like, obviously there's little hints, but people can bypass as they read. But as you get towards the end and the plot develops and you see Ben with his friend and stuff, you definitely start seeing that everything is absolutely in question. I mean, even something that you think makes sense and has science behind it, you have to question it. Because you don't really know what's happening. I'm almost interested to see what route you guys are going in further issues with the time frame you tell the story in, because I'm curious to see if you guys are going to jump back and forth and if we're going to have to piece even more like time lapses together that we're not sure about.
There are there are moments where we advance forward in the story. The story is not a completely continuous 36-hour experience. I mean, these guys go from being nobodies and they put this mind control that they discover, they put it into an app and it blows up on them. They become viral overnight tech billionaires. And so, that while overnight, we still do go forward in time on this journey with them and see what is happening. And so, there is some, it is a little bit of a slightly longer journey in their experience.
Yeah. And so what can you guys tease for us to expect as the series continues? Because this is a 5 or 6 issue limited, I believe.
6 issues.
6 issues. Okay. So we got 5 more issues to go after this first one comes out. What can you guys tease for us to expect as the mystery unravels and we're questioning everything? We don't trust Ben. Even though we don't remember who Ben is, we don't trust him.
Right.
I think you said it yourself. Like the mystery unravels, question everything. Don't trust Ben. It's like
3 rules right there.
I'm excited for issue 2 because issue 2, there's another character. Her name is Hannah. Yeah, Hannah from Atlanta, and we get the hint that there's a lot that has to do with her at the beginning of issue 1, but she's not in the rest of issue 1. She's only kind of mentioned, but we get to finally meet her and engage with her in issue 2. And I think she's a really fascinating character, and she really brings a lot of life and energy to the story. And there's a lot of mystery there to unravel. And so I think that I'm really excited for readers when they get to that stage to meet her and to experience her role in all of this, because we meet everyone but her in really, I mean, we meet the 4 guys, and then we meet Peter Winfield, who becomes their investor, we meet most everyone, but I would say that I'm excited for that component in issue 2. That she's a really dynamic character. But it's hard to talk too much further into the story without, giving too much away. I mean, ultimately, there's a business drama going on here, and it's an interesting existential battle between technology in Silicon Valley as it is, and Ben has this intention of trying to do some good, but there's I think his investor at one point early on says, you can't fight the thing you're trying to be part of. And, Ben and his friends really have that struggle of how do you use technology to free people if you're also becoming the very thing. So
the technology,
becoming the technology. And so, and what's really fun about this story is it's mind control, and we know it's mind control, but I think the mind control comes in and out in subtle ways. And so, it's just you have to really be engaged when you're reading it to kind of pick up all the layers of what's going on with the mind control. And, so it's hard to go too in detail in terms of what's coming, but and then it gets really, it's an exciting thriller. There's a murder, and there's just a classic whodunit, what's going on. It's it'll keep you all on your toes for sure.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal first issue. Like, you guys have done a great job with it.
Thank you.
It looks and feels gorgeous. John, is there anything specific that you're excited about with this first issue coming out soon?
anything I'm excited about with the first issue coming out. I mean,
I know with all these delays, my goodness.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, like I'm kind of coming to the US in the summer, like to support the release of the first issue. So I'm kind of really excited about that and to kind of promote it a lot more. So it's going to be really good. It's like I'm doing a couple of cons like the week after the first issue comes out. So hopefully it'll be a chance to actually chat to more people about that first issue. I think that's the thing I'm most excited about is for people to get their eyes on it. It's like the people that have read it have been like really not only complimentary about it, but like they've been engaged, they've been asking questions about it, which is fantastic, and that's kind of what I want to happen more, really. So for that first issue coming out, I'm super stoked for people to start asking the questions, to question themselves as well.
Right. I can't wait to see all the theories come out. Everybody's gonna be on Twitter or God knows where, like theorizing and trying to convince everybody they're right. So when is this issue supposed to come out? When is the final order cut off? We want to get those dates right.
Yeah. So if you're just pre-order, to reach out to your shop. Any comic book shop can take your pre-order, and it's May 29th, which is Monday. And it's not June 6th because Vault Comics has switched over to Lunar distribution and not Diamond exclusively. So make sure that you order in by May 29th, which is Monday. I'll just add, I mean, there are paper shortages and all these sorts of things. These things can change, but an issue is to pre-order. There are some gorgeous covers. I love our A cover. John has done such an incredible A cover. And then we have Martin Simmons, who's the artist on Department of Truth, doing B covers for the whole series. And his first B cover is just really, but I don't think they've yet revealed. They might have started to reveal some of the other covers. There are some incredible variant covers that you guys can go get your hands on, collector worthy. So if you like collecting variant covers, definitely reach out to your shop to see if you can pre-order some of those too.
It's out.
Oh, it's out. 29th? It's out June 29th. June 29th. Yeah.
Sweet. Hopefully there are no more paper shortages or delays, because this is one of those books that, obviously you can get, comics digitally, but I think this is one that's best read in hand if people get their hands on it.
Yeah, I hope that people will have an experience seeing it visually. Yeah. And it certainly helps for the thematic important book that's railing against the dangers of technology. So it's nice to maybe read it on paper, but if you have to read it digitally, you can.
Yeah, I think because it's been digital, so they've recognized the irony in that a lot.
Here we are on
right. We're Zoom calling for an interview, so can't
escape it.
Can't escape the evil. John, do you want to plug yourself? Tell people where they can find you, if you have a website, social media, anything like that.
Yes, so you can find me on social media at John J. Pearson. My website is johnjpearson.co.uk. So come and give me a follow. And like I said, I'll be over in the US in the summer. I'll be in Chicago for Fan Expo and then at Raleigh for GalaxyCon.
Oh, you're gonna be here? I'm gonna come find you then. I live in Raleigh. So I'm gonna hunt you down.
Oh, amazing! Definitely.
Right? Works out beautifully. And Zack, where can people find you on social media, website, all that good stuff?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at Zack Kaps, and I calm, and I've got a Substack newsletter called Technobabble, and you guys can find me at any of those places and come say hi and tell me what you think when you pick up the book.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for coming on, you guys. Thanks for taking the time Those of you listening, make sure by what's the FOC date? The 30th, May 30th, which
The
is Monday.
29th.
Yep.
Yeah.
So get your orders in by the 30th, and then June 29th, get your copy. It's gonna be awesome. It's a glorious book. It's really gorgeous. You won't want to put it down. But yeah, thanks again, guys, for coming on. I really appreciate it. Those of you watching, listening, make sure you like, share, subscribe, all that cheesy but super important stuff that helps the channel. And we will see you guys next time.
Thank you for joining us today for this episode of the Cryptid Creator Corner. We also have a podcast of the same name that you can download wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for watching.
If you enjoyed this episode of the Cryptid Creator Corner, maybe you would enjoy our sister podcast, Into the Comics Cave. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.